Talk to me about your life in prison in terms of your being in isolation. You are not on what is called the main line. You're not with the prison population here. How do you feel about that?
How do I feel about it? I don't feel about it.
Would you rather not be in isolation?
Oh, I've been trying to get on the main line. I've been trying to get to the prison for the last 13 years.
Why?
Why? Walk around, play some handball, play a little guitar, do my number, do my time like any convict does, like I've always done, like my mind has been set to do, like my past lives have been in jail, doing time in jail. In fact, when I got out, I just got outside and sat down. I wasn't going nowhere. I gave up, see.
If you were on the main line, wouldn't you be exposed to some dangers?
Come on, man. If you're thinking exposure to danger, then that danger you're thinking is coming around you.
Well, look what happened to James Earl Ray. You heard about that, didn't you?
James Earl Ray's got his problems. I got mine.
But you heard what happened to him. Have you heard? He got stuck.
Yeah.
22
people
times.
Died in India, too.
Got stuck.
And some other people died in Hawaii.
You wouldn't be scared
all over.
All right. You wouldn't be frightened or afraid, then, of the prison population trying to make a hit on you?
Man, I've been staying alive in prison this long without no help.
What is S ward?
It's a nut ward.
What goes on in there?
Whatever goes on in there. You'd have to ask the people responsible for that.
Well, do they do things to you in there?
Do they do things to me?
Mm-hmm.
That depends.
They give you medication here?
Yeah, they give you medication here.
You have medication now?
No. No, it took me about a few years to get off of medication. The medication has toned me down quite a bit. Whole lot. That's the reason I like the desert. When I get out in the desert, then I can let it out and say, if I see you within 50 miles, then we'll know something. Yeah, I used to love that desert. Out in the woods and things. I didn't know you could get out in the woods for 30 years.
How do you feel about spending the rest of your life in prison?
Well, we're all our own prisons. We each are our own wardens, and we do our own times. We used to get stuck in our own little trips, and we kind of judge ourselves the way we do. You know, I can't judge nobody else. The best thing I can do is try to judge myself and live with that. See, what other people do is not really my affair unless they approach me with it and want me to do something about it. Then I'll take into consideration what has to be done. But other than that, I just try to do my number and do my time, get out on the main line, play some tennis, walk around, make the chow a little better, you know. And then there's a possibility the preacher could teach me something, because the preacher, the reverend, is quite a guy, and I'm finding that got 2 or 3 doctors here that's got a lot of sense. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they got a lot of sense in my world, you know. And I've tried to shake 2 or 3 of them, but they're pretty smart. And then they got some pretty good inmates here trying to get out and work their lives into a decent sort of way. Trying to promote harmony, pull ourselves together, be right, do right, and have the understanding of what it is in a congenial form for world peace. There's a lot of people working for world peace.
Let's assume that one day you were paroled. Let's just
paroled.
Well, let's just make believe. Do you ever think you will be?
Yeah. Do I ever think I will be? Well, I've never been paroled before. I went up to the board, and they said I was incorrigible. And not only was I incorrigible, but that I'd never grow up. And I kind of agreed with them. I had a war.
Well, I mean, let's just play make-believe here for a second. Let's make-believe you. Let's make-believe you're getting out tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Okay.
And tomorrow creeps this petty face, yeah.
Would you go after anybody, Charles?
After anybody?
Do you feel let me try another way. Do you feel you have any scores to settle with anybody on the outside?
Let me think. Do I have any scores out there? And we're making believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you, buddy. Well, I don't rightly know. I'm stupid to the point where I'm not really sure. And if you'll ask the question again, maybe the answer will come to you. What was it again?
If you got out tomorrow, do you have any scores to settle on the outside?
Scores. You mean people that have done me wrong?
Or you feel you've done you wrong?
Oh, that feel that I've done them wrong?
No, feel that they've done you wrong.
Oh.
That you feel have done you wrong.
Oh, well, most people do themselves wrong.
But would you want to go? Would you want to go get anybody?
No.
If you got out, no.
No, they push. See what they do. See, they take all that bad and then they push it off on each other. I told the dude, "You're doing this to yourself, man." You know, I've been sitting in there. In other words, I'm in the cell, right? And he let me out, and I walk around. The guy says, "If you don't do this, we're going to lock you back up." I said, "Okay, I don't care anyway." I done gave up that thought. Prison's in your mind, man. Like, you know.
Okay.
You can sit in the cell, and the guy said, "You're in prison?" I said, "No, I'm just here." He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just sitting here waiting for these people to get done doing what they're doing so I could get out."
Do you have a television set? Do you watch television?
Yeah, I used to watch it a little bit, but it kind of looks, I don't really like it that much.
Okay. Well, what about newspapers? Do you get newspapers?
No, I don't bother with those. I know that they're jiving there.
All right. What, with radio? Listen to the radio?
I listen to a Hearts and Space program. I like that. And the rest of it, just like a bunch of devils. There's no...
What about your music?
I get some classical music on the 98 station that's saying something.
Okay. But what about your own music? I remember reading that you at one time had a recording stint at a studio in Hollywood, and that you liked guitar and you wrote music or sang music. Do you still do that?
Yeah. Yeah, I do that. Yeah, I do that. But the way I do it ain't the same way you guys do it. And the way I do it scares you guys. So I didn't want to scare you guys out of the neighborhood right away. So I just took a can and started banging on it, you know. But we used to have some cosmic gatherings back in the mountains that would probably shake a Mormon tabernacle choir's eardrums.
You said the kind of music you play scares people. Why shouldn't people be scared by you?
There's only one person you can be scared of, and that's yourself. Afraid of what? Losing your bank account? Afraid of your wife going away? You have all those things. I'm not afraid of losing my watch or someone taking my money or robbing me. I went down to Mexico in the 50s and down where the Yankees was, and they said, "Man, you don't go down where the Yankees are." He said, "They're terrible." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, they don't like people like you." I said, "Well, they didn't say anything."
Yeah, but I asked the question in the context that, whether you believe it or not, there are a lot of people on the outside that think about the possibility of you coming out of here, and they're genuinely scared of you.
Oh, boy, I might just make dust. Everything. Terrible. One little guy. Terrible. Ooh. Boy, how insecure are we as human beings? Put all our fear on one little guy. Afraid to let him out. He might break all the toys.
Why do you say little guy?
Because I'm not the guy you trying to make out of me. That's not me. That's some guy in somebody's imagination that wanted to make a couple $100 million for himself. He got rich. He had a good game going. He had a better game going than I did, but he had a good mother to help him. She helped him in a nice game. I was kind of over on the sidelines. See, I had to get around that game and look over the tracks.
Okay, now, here we go on mother again for a second. You said he had a nice mother to help him. Does that mean you did not have a nice mother to help you?
Oh, well, I imagine I got a whole lot of nice mothers that would help me. If I would help them, you know. How much would you help yourself?
When I asked you why you got married, you said for sex.
That's when I was 20 years old.
Yeah? What kind, this is funny, what kind of sex life is there for Charles in this prison?
Well, I a bit now and then. I try to hide it, not to embarrass other people, but I've been doing it ever since I was 10. I get to thinking, here I'm an old man sitting in the cell, That's the damnest thing I ever seen, you know. It looks like I grow up, but I really don't know how yet. I'm learning. Preacher's teaching me how to grow up.
Do you miss women?
Certainly. My goodness, yeah, damn right. Yeah.
What do you think of women?
Oh, I like them. Yeah, they're nice. They're put together well and everything, and they're soft and spongy. Yeah, they're nice. As long as they keep their mouth shut and do what they're supposed to do.
Why do you say that?
Because that's what a woman's supposed to do.
Keep her mouth shut and do what she's supposed to do?
Sure.
Who taught you that?
Well, I don't want her snitching on me.
You know, you were sentenced to the gas chamber and then they modified the death penalty. Were you happy when that was done?
Was I happy when what was done?
When you found out that you weren't going to the gas chamber.
You're talking about dying. Now, it gets me nervous.
Why?
Did you have any thoughts about something? Was you wanting to go anywhere?
Were you happy when you found out you weren't going to go to the gas chamber, Charles?
I knew I wasn't going to go to the gas chamber because I hadn't done anything wrong.
You scared to die?
Sometimes I feel I'm scared to live. Living is what scares me. Dying is easy. Getting up every day and going through this again and again is hard. See, I'm carrying a heavy thought. See, the thought I'm carrying is very heavy. Like I'm on a football team and everybody's. And I'm a little guy. I don't have no home team. You got all the home. I got one cheerleader or one coach. See, you got me at a disadvantage because I'm on your ground. See. So, and this is your street, I reckon. You got the cameras and the money and the things. But you can believe me that Bully Ossie's had you all on a rib. And all them guys that sold you most of that stuff sold you a bunch of things that weren't real. Not to me. We used to have games we would play on the movie set. We would take on different people. I'd be Riff Raff Rackus. And Steve would be John Jones, just come in from Minneapolis and driving the truck. And we'd just take other people and play act other people. And then we lost track of who we were. And it went off to do other dimensions and levels of thought and understanding and comprehension that were beyond most people's minds, functions, computers, data. So, all I did was watch and learn everything I could from everybody I ever met. Then when I got out of prison, I just walked around. I didn't tell nobody to do nothing. I said, do what you want to do. Don't tell me what to do. I don't like people telling me what to do. They just come from a place where they told me what to do all my life. You know, I want to find out what to do for myself, you know. I never did. Not yet. But I was going to take a trade one of these days, maybe learn to be a welder or something. Till I can get to the front gate anyway.
Involved in this whole drama where people were killed. How did you get involved in that drama?
Well, I was born illegitimately. That put me on the other side of the law. I've been an outlaw ever since I was born. I went to reform school when I was about 10, and I learned to box and cry, and I learned to do all the things that you do in reform school. Then I went to, I escaped there a bunch of times, and I went to prison, and I learned everything that you do in prison. And I talked to all the guys and asked them everything they knew, and they told me all the things they knew. And then I went to the end of it, and then the old man would be ready to die, and he'd say, well, son, sincerity is the best gimmick, remember that. And I said, all right, be sincere, that'll win it. He said, that's it. Sincerity and honesty, he said, it'll do it. It'll trick them every time. I said, well, sincere and honesty, I never tried that. I tried everything else, but maybe I'll try sincere and honesty. So then I looked in the book and it says, the wages of sin is death. Now I figured, well, I don't want to die, so maybe I have been sinful here. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe I'll take a look at my life and say, well, I'm going to change and start all over. You know, and I know I go to God and I say, hey, man, you're going to forgive me? And he's going to say, what do? You forgive you? I mean, what'd you come to me for? Forgive yourself, man. Don't be bothering me. You know, and I think, well, he must be a big, mighty God, man. He just, you know, he ain't got time. You got to make an appointment or something, you know. So I see the whole aspect of the whole trip for children to play, you know. And then I get stuck in the game of playing the goat here, or the lamb, or some other trip. I was a teddy bear, and then I was a goofball, and whatever. And what is the real one? Where's the real one? I don't know where the real one is. It's in a nut ward somewhere.
Now you've seen the real Charles Manson, hardly the glowering, sinister, and assertive mastermind that was pictured of his life before and after the Tate LaBianca killings in Los Angeles. The real Charles Manson appears to be confused and frightened. Confused, if you recall his admonition that we look at ourselves to better understand him. Yet each time I pressed him on details about the murders, Manson could not even look at himself, nor his relationships with his mother, his wife, and his son. And he's frightened. During our conversation, you recall Manson said, "I'm living, aren't I? They let me live, didn't they?" Followed by that little nervous laugh. The man does not want to die. I think he's frightened by death, and I think that he is as scared of us as we are of him. I get the feeling he'll be quite content to spend the rest of his life playing mind games in the jailhouse. And I also believe that Charles Manson knows exactly what he's done. A word about what you might think was my belligerence with Manson. I lived in Los Angeles all during this trial. I still live there from time to time, in a quiet neighborhood just across the canyon from where Sharon Tate and the others were murdered. At work by day, I broadcast the 6 o'clock news in Los Angeles, the whole story of the trial, the shaved heads, the carved foreheads, the harangues and threats in the courtroom. And by night, I tried to assure my young daughter that, yes, even though the murder house was close by, Charles Manson and company were under lock and key, and there would be no creepy crawlers in the night. So it was that Manson I was listening to, and not the one who now sits alone in a faraway prison, where, barring a most perverse miracle, he will spend the rest of his life. Thank you for watching, and good night, everybody.